Assalamu alaikum. Today I am reading the novel The Railway Children by Edith Nesbit. Now I am starting to read. The beginning of things. They were not railway children to begin with. I don't suppose they had ever thought about railways except as a means of getting to Mescaline and Cook's, the pantomime, zoological gardens, and Madame Tussauds. They were just ordinary suburban children, and they had lived with their father and mother in an ordinary red brick fronted villa, with coloured glass in the front door, a tiled passage that was called a hall, a bathroom with hot and cold water, electric bells, French windows, and a good deal of white paint, and every modern convenience, as the house agent says. There were three of them. Roberta was the eldest, of course. Mothers never have favorites, but if their mother had a favorite, it might have been Roberta. Next came Peter, who wished to be an engineer when he grew up, and the youngest was Phyllis, who meant extremely well. Mother did not spend all her time in paying dull calls to dull ladies and sitting dully at home waiting for dull ladies called to pay calls to her. She was almost always there ready to play with the children and read to them and help them to do their home lessons. Besides this, she used to write stories for them while they were at school and read them aloud after tea. And she always made up funny pieces of poetry for their birthdays and for other great occasions, such as the christening of other great christening the new kittens or the refurnishing of the dolls uh, house or the time when they were getting over the mumps. These three lucky children always had everything they needed, pretty clothes, good fires, a lovely nursery with heaps of toys, and a Mother Goose wallpaper. They had a kind of and merry nursemaid and a dog who was called James and who was their very own. They also had a father who was just perfect, never cross, never unjust, and always ready for a game. At least, if at any time he was not ready uh, for it, and explained the reason to the children so interestingly and funnily that they felt sure he couldn't help himself. You will think that they ought to have been very happy, and so they were, but they did not know how happy till the pretty life in Edgecombe Villa was over and done with, and they had to live a very different life indeed. The dreadful change came quite suddenly. Peter had a birthday. His 10th. Among his other presents was a model of engine more perfect than you could ever have dreamed of. The other than the other presents were full of charm, but the engine was fuller of charm than any of the others were. Its charm lasted in its full perfection for exactly 3 days. Then, owing either to Peter's inexperience or Phyllis' good intentions, which had been rather pressing, or to some other cause, the engine suddenly went off with a bang. James was frightened that he went out and did not come back all day. All the nose arc people who were in the tender were broken to bits, but nothing else was hurt except the poor little engine and the feeling of the Peter. The others said he cried over it, but of course boys of 10 do not cry. However terrible the tragedies maybe which darkened their lot. He said that his eyes were red because he had a cold. This turned out to be true. through. Peter did not know it was when he said it's next day he had to go to bed and stay there. Mother began to be afraid that he might be sickening for measles when suddenly he sat up in bed and said, I hate gruel, I hate barley water, I hate bread and milk. I want to get up and have something real to eat. What would you like? Mother asked. A pigeon pie, said Peter eagerly. A large pigeon pie, a very large one. So mother asked the cook to make a large pigeon pie. The pie was made, and when the pie was made, it was cooked. When it was cooked, Peter ate some of it. After that, his cold was better. Mother said, made a piece of pottery to amuse him. While the pie was being made, it began by saying, what an unfortunate but worthy boy Peter was. Then it went on. He had an engine that he loved with all his heart and soul, and as if he had a wish on earth, it was to keep it whole. One day, my friend, prepare your minds. I am coming to the worst. Quite suddenly, a screw went mad, and then the boiler burst. With gloomy face, he picked it up and took it to his mother, though even he could not suppose that she could make another. For those who perished on the line, he did not seem to care, his engine being more to him than all the others. There and now you see the reason why our Peter has been ill. He soothes his soul with the pigeon pie, his gnawing grief to kill. He wraps himself in blankets warm and sleeps in bed till late, determined thus to overcome his miserable fate. And if his eyes are rather red, or his cold must just excuse it. Offer him pie, you may be sure he will never refuse it. Father had been away in the country for 3-4 days. All Peter's hope for the curing of the his afflicted engine were now fixed on his father, for father was most wonderfully clever with his fingers. He could mend all sorts of things. He had often acted as veterinary surgeon to the woods rocking horse. Once he had saved its life when all human aid was despaired offhand. The poor creature was given up for lost, and even the carpenter said he didn't see his way to do anything, and it was father who mended the doll's cradle when no one else could, and with a little glue and some bits of wood and a pen knife made all the nose arc beasts as strong on their pins as ever they were, if not stronger. Peter Peter, with the heroic unselfishness, did not say anything about his engine till after father had his dinner and his after dinner cigar. The unselfishness was mother ideas, but it was Peter who carried it out and needed a good deal of patience. At last, mother said to father, now dear, if you are quite rested and quite comfy, we want you to tell you about the great railway accident and ask your advice. All right, said father, fire away. So then Peter told the sad tale and fetched what was left of the engine. Said father. When he had looked the engine over very carefully, the children held their breaths. Is there no hope? Said Peter in a low, unsteady. I expected it's the subscription to the vicar's testimonially, said mother, or else it's the choir holiday fund. Gets rid of them quickly, dear. It does break up and evening so, and it's nearly the children's bedtime. But father did not seem to able to get rid of the gentleman at all quickly. I wish we had a got of moat and drawbridge, said Roberta. Then when we didn't want people, we could just pull up the drawbridge and no one else could get in. I expect father will have forgotten about when he was a boy. If they stay much longer, mother tried to make the time pass by telling them a new fairy story about a princess with green eyes, but it was difficult because they could hear the voices of father voice sounded by louder and different, who came about testimonials and holidays fun. Then the library bell rang and everyone heaved a breath of relief. They are going on now, said Phyllis. He's rung to have them shown out, but instead of showing anybody out, Ruth showed him herself, and she looked queer, and children thought, please she said, the master wants you to just step into the study. He looks like the dead mom. I think he said, bad news, you did best.